Alrighty, welcome to the 76th edition of Before the Battle. My name is Nick Baldwin of BloodyElbow.com. I'm joined as always by MMAfighting.com's own Jed Meshew. Wesley Riddle, we're lacking him tonight, of course, from MMA Soccer. He's too tired to do the show.
He's a coward is what it is. He didn't want to come here and give me my damn due and propers because, ladies and gentlemen, we're taking the mic away from Nick Baldwin because you are looking at the champ. The king is back. Two times, the king of everything. Picks and DraftKings. Give me all the belts, one for each shoulder. And Wes Riddle, you're a coward for not coming on the show and admitting dominance.
I would imagine his message to us about working a 13.5-hour workday today was all complete lies and BS and excuses. Is that?
I spent 11 hours driving. Get at me.
You were also nocturnal, so I guess that helps.
I'm also just not a coward. That totally helps too.
Yeah, it does. I'm
putting you on blast, Wes Riddle. When you watch this back, know that I know what happened, and I expect my due and propers next week after I win again, and in the double champ, double time.
Well, you just mentioned off air how you're not too confident in your DraftKings teams. Usually when you say that, I end up pulling off the win there. So we'll see what happens, but I am looking forward to next week to seeing what Wesley Riddle has to say about him not being here and about your claims as well. That'll be interesting. And the fact that we'll be able to talk about John Jones and Daniel Cormier fighting again, that's going to be fun. But for now, this is going to be a quick show. Thank you guys for listening. If I didn't already say that, it is currently 1:10 where I am here in the Great White North in the Peg in Winnipeg. It is, of course, 1 hour later where Jed is 2:10 in Atlanta, Georgia. I know probably nobody is tuned in right now, and we're talking to ourselves, and that's it. But if you happen to be up, thank you very much for checking this out, and hopefully you stick with us. This is going to be a short show. This is not going to be a drawn-out 1.5 to 2 hour show. We are both tired, and I mean, overall, this isn't a bad card. It's not, a great card, especially for Big Fox. We're going to go through the
card.
What's that?
It's a tweener card. It's just stuck in between like
John Jones and DC.
Yeah. It's the classic card that's like, oh shit, the real thing's about to happen. We about to get that realness.
Yeah,
and everybody's just waiting for that.
Yeah, it's UFC 201 between 200 and 202.
201 was a great card because I was at that card, so fuck yourself.
Yeah, the fact your presence made it obviously the best card of the year. All right, so let's get into UFC on Fox 25. Before that,
excuse me, sir, we due and propers, son. We established that I was the double champ, but we need to establish why. So I'll take it from here. Our records last week with a sterling 10-2 picks record. It's me, Jed Meshew, the champion now, stealing the belt away from Nicholas Baldwin from the week before, tied in second place. You two jabronis who went 9-3 and don't know shit about the sport. My incorrect picks, I boldly went with Paul Craig, which was boldly incorrect, and I also picked Stevie Ray. Both of you also picked Stevie Ray, so that's where you came up short. Nicholas, you also came up short in the main event, as did Wes Riddle, both picking Gunny Nelson. Both of you were wrong extremely quickly as Ponzi scheme put the wood to him. Nick, you also missed David Tamer. Wes got the Tamer fight correct. He was incorrect with the Roberts-Nash fight. He had Nash. Obviously, that came up short. As far as our DraftKings teams go, let's take a look at who. In first place was an incredible, commanding 548 points. Jed Meshew. In second place with 436 points. Wes Riddle. And it was a nail-biter, folks. Wes Riddle ended up beating Nick by 0.5 points. Nick UFC recording a 436, literally the one strike difference. If Gunny Nelson had thrown and landed one less significant strike, we would have had a tie if he had thrown two less. Nick is the winner there. It was incredibly incredible drama for who got second place. The whole contest was over early, though. I was clearly in the lead. As far as our performance and fight of the night bonuses, we continue to be extremely bad at this. All of us wrong on all accounts. Nick, you had Roberts Nash. Wes had Nelson Ponzinibbio. I had Ray Felder for fight of the night. All three of those were incorrect. Performances. I do want to make a little caveat here. The performance night winners went to Paul Felder and Santiago Ponzinibbio. Both really good performances, but pour out a little liquor for our boy Galore Bafando, who got robbed of a performance bonus, and as a corollary, robbed both me and Wes of a performance bonus pick, which we gave to him. Similarly, you could argue that Khalil Roundtree had a sterling performance as well. Nick, you had Roundtree picked, and you got robbed as well in that. So really, but we all came up short on the performance bonuses. That's our recap. Now we can move forward.
Thank you for that, and congratulations. I'll give you this week, but of course, my crown and my belt is coming back to me starting tomorrow with Chris Weidman versus Kelvin Gastelum in the main event of UFC on Fox 25. As I said a couple minutes ago, this will be a very quick show. We're going to go through the prelims very briefly. We'll give our picks and probably nothing else. Maybe I'll say a sentence or two, but we'll play that by ear and see as we get to those fights. But we will go through this card starting on Fight Pass. Frankie Perez, Chris Wade. I guess we'll just go fight to fight, and you just say a name, I'll say a name, we move on real quick. Perez or Wade, who is your pick?
I'm taking Wade. Wes Whittle also. Wes not here, but did send his picks to me. Wes is also on the Wade train. What about you, Nicholas?
I am going Chris Wade by possibly by stoppage on the ground, but knowing him, he doesn't stop too many guys. I would go by decision. Moving on, Shane Burgos and Godofredo Pepe. Actually, a pretty interesting featherweight fight. Are you going with the big favorite in Burgos or Pepe?
I am personally going to be taking Shane Burgos. I think there's likely a stoppage here. Wes Riddle also taking Burgos. He has got a round 2 KO score for that.
My pick is Burgos as well. I'm not as confident in him inside the distance. Pepe doesn't have a great chin. Burgos hits hard. That makes me think probably a stoppage is going to happen. Not too confident just because Pepe is wild and Burgos has enough knockouts, but he also can go the distance. I'll go Burgos by late TKO, but a decision seems likely. Timothy Johnson, the leader of all mustaches, the king of all mustaches, takes on newcomer Junior Albini.
You're gonna say he's the king of all mustaches, despite the fact that on this very card, Jean Vellante will be fighting the true king of all mustaches, Durkin himself. We will get. Well, I don't want to bury the lead. We're gonna get to Durkin down the line, but I'm just saying, Pat Cummins, great mustache. I am taking, as only a reasonable man could do here, I'm taking Tim Johnson purely off the fact that Junior Albini is only competed in regional Brazilian cards and might just be awful. I think the reasonable way to pick him is by decision. I'm going to be a little frosty, a little exciting, and pick Tim Johnson by third round TKO.
The pick here is Tim Johnson. I don't know anything about Albini. I have heard he's not great. He's a bit not in shape, to put it nicely. He's fought a lot of not great competitors. To pick Johnson, he has UFC experience. He's a grinder. He's a decent grinder for the heavyweight division standards. Johnson by decision, a TKO, a bad TKO is maybe likely as well. Next up, Brian Kelleher taking on Marlon Chito Vera at bantamweight. Actually, pretty good matchup, and Kelleher is about a 2-1 favorite, but I think Chito has maybe a better chance than that. I'll just go my pick first. It is Kelleher. I think the grappling Vera struggles to defend takedowns. Kelleher seems to be pretty good at takedowns and grappling in general. I think he's able to grind out Chito, but a small stab on Vera, if you're a betting man, might not be the worst option.
I should say, since I didn't say it previously, West Riddle also taking Tim Johnson over Albini. He has the decision. As far as Kelleher Vera, West Riddle has Kelleher over Vera with a submission in the second round. I'm going to keep us being boring. You can start seeing why, listeners. We're skipping through this undercard. A lot of the same picks here. Not a lot of interesting matchups. I mean, somewhat interesting in some respects, but nothing that we're going to go too far afield in our picks here. I'm also joining the Kelleher thing. I suspect that Ver sort of has impressed me with in his last effort against Brad Pickett. I think that you might be right in that maybe he's getting a little looked over here. I think he can make it the distance. I do think Kelleher is going to win by decision, though.
Just after this, we got Kyle Bochniak and Jeremy Kennedy fighting at featherweight. But for what it's worth, just to point out, I think out of those five first fight pass early prelims, I think Kelleher, Vera, and Burgos Pepe are probably the most interesting matchups and the closest fights. That's sort of just my opinion. Next up, we got, as I said, Crash, Kyle Bochniak, and JBC, Jeremy Kennedy. The pick for me is Kennedy. I think he's a better grappler in general, has a bit more upside. Bochniak is arguably 0-2 in the UFC, hasn't looked very good. He's been pretty inactive. Kennedy's still raw, but he's looked all right, in my opinion. He's looked better than all right. He's looked good. His grappling's really good. I think he'll be able to control Bochniak and win by decision.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down there. He's such an active wrestler. That's basically all I need to hear it. Bochniak, not a great defender of takedowns. I think Kennedy's gonna be able to impose a game plan. I've got Kennedy. I do think Bochniak sees the final bell. And Wes agrees with us. He's got Kennedy by decision.
Alrighty. Next up, kicking off the Fox prelims, we got a heavyweight battle between Damien, the Polish Pitbull Grabowski, and the Gift King, as Ariel Helwani would say, Chase the Vanilla Gorilla Sherman, a guy you will want to follow on social media if you do not already. My pick here, Sherman. Although Sherman, he's a great character, but he's not the best fighter. But Grabowski is just not a good fighter at all. He got knocked out in his last fight by Anthony Hamilton in 14 seconds. I think that says a lot. Sherman has a lot higher output. He is a bit chinny, but Grabowski isn't really a huge knockout artist for heavyweight standards. The pick is Sherman by knockout in the first round. Pretty confident. Very confident, actually. Who is your pick?
We are going to be in equanimity across the board here. Sherman over Grabowski with a round 1 KO. TKO is what West Riddle has, and I'm paired in everything you say here. Just not anything to add. I think Sherman gets it done. I could honestly, for the sake of difference, I'm going to say Sherman over Grabowski in round 2. He's not a huge hitter. Sometimes it takes a while for him to pile up the appropriate amount of damage. So yeah, but I think we all see it the same way. Sherman's going to win by virtue of being a better fighter and a much better social media player.
I just want to point out that we have 5 viewers right now, and that's kind of spectacular because it is currently 2:21 p.m.
You
Eastern.
guys are the real fucking heroes. Whoever's watching this right now, shouts to you guys because it's 2:20 on a Friday, and we did not expect to have anybody watching, which is a lot of why we were just like, hey, let's just run through this quick. It's only the two of us, so love you for being here, guys. Big fans,
Well,
of you,
Eric,
are big fans.
the only person I know for sure that is watching is Eric Stevens. He has commented in the comment section. So thank you, Eric, for watching, and thank you to the other 4. One of them is probably my mom. All right, moving on. We have a welterweight fight between Ryan LaFleur and Alex Cowboy Oliveira. One of the closer fights. I mean, in a card that has a lot of clear fights, this is, I guess, one of the closer matchups. LaFleur or Cowboy, who is the pick?
I guess I'll lead with Wes Riddle. Wes Riddle has Charles Oliveira winning a decision over Ryan LaFleur.
Alex Oliveira, but
Or
yeah,
yeah,
fair enough.
sorry, Alex Oliveira. Dude, it's 2:20 and I've had a long day. Yeah, Alex Oliveira winning a decision over LaFleur. I don't think that's a bad pick. I think this is actually a really close fight. But to me, I think LaFleur is just like a wildly underrated guy. Whereas Oliveira has struggled. Like the Tim Means win was impressive, despite the fact that he probably was about to lose to Tim Means when they first fought. But like really, the only person who has given Ryan LaFleur problems is Demian Maia, who's about to fight for a title and a uniquely talented and skilled thing. And frankly, like Ryan LaFleur went 5 rounds with Demian Maia, and like dude, Carlos Condit, who in my opinion was at one point in time the best welterweight on the planet, the actual like should have been the legitimate welterweight champion, lasted about 3 minutes with Demian Maia on the mat. So like I have a tremendous amount of respect for Ryan LaFleur, and he hasn't been as active in his career, I think, as we would have wanted to, and I think that plays a role here. People forget, if you're not constantly in there. But like Ryan LaFleur beat Santiago Ponzinibbio, who we just saw last weekend do the damn thing. Court McGee, who's a tough grinder, Ryan LaFleur got a win over him. John Howard, not super great. Mike Pierce, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the fighter Mike Pierce is. Joan Canero, my personal jiu-jitsu coach. So maybe it's just I'm too close to it. I don't know. To me though, it just I think Ryan LaFleur's got more tools in the toolbox everywhere. He's not the same level of athlete Alex Oliveira is. Oliveira is bringing more type of, he's bringing a howitzer to the fight as far as artillery goes, but he fades. He's not all that technically brilliant. He's sloppy at points. He might look good for a minute. I just expect the class to show over the course of 15 minutes. Give me Ryan LaFleur by decision.
My pick here is actually Alex Oliveira. I'm surprised he opened around plus 165. I'm a bit surprised that hasn't changed.
That's wrong. That shouldn't be right. Those odds are off.
Like this is like I'm not surprised LaFleur is favored just because he's done. It's hard to argue he's even done a bit. He's done more. Like he seems like kind of the bigger name, and he's ranked, so that counts maybe for something, not really. But he's been inactive. I don't think he's as good as some people think he is. He goes to he's good everywhere, but he doesn't stand out anywhere. He is inactive. He's goes to decisions. He's not a finisher really. I don't know. There's some to like about LaFleur, but not a lot. I like Alex Oliveira on the feet. I think his grappling skills mostly keeps LaFleur off of him. I think Oliveira actually has a bit of success on the mat, especially in the more jiu-jitsu exchanges. I think Oliveira, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Oliveira taps him out.
Yeah, Damian Maia couldn't tap him out after 5 rounds, but Alex Oliveira going to get it done.
That's that was Damian Maia. Damian
Just
Maia.
saying.
What's that?
Just saying, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really, really good point. Yeah. All right, Alex Oliveira. What's that?
Guns. Stick with your guns.
All right, I'm doing Alex Oliveira, better grappler than Damian Maia, who is obviously the best grappler in MMA. But Cowboy on Saturday night tops Damian Maia's skills and the taps LaFleur. Next up, Rafael Natal taking on Eric Anders, a newcomer LFA middleweight champion, just picked up that title recently with a 5-round decision victory. The guy's undefeated. Natal, of course, is 21-8-1 from Brazil. Anders slightly favored, close to a pick'em. Who's the pick here?
So Wes Riddle has Anders winning with a round 1 KO TKO. And frankly, I agree. He's not here to give his breakdown, but here's my breakdown of it. Rafael Natal is a guy with skill and talent, and he's not a tremendously good athlete. Eric Anders won a national championship playing college football for Alabama, and he wasn't he wasn't a bench rider. He led the team in tackles in their national title game. This is a dude who at one point was signed to the Cleveland Browns. He's just a way, way, way different type of athlete than Rafael Natal can really credibly defeat. I know, he's making his debut. That's something to consider here in general. But he had success in his early career. He had the type of success you want to see from a prospect, where he was getting guys out of there, getting mostly stoppages. And Rafael Natal is just the best, most athletic fighters he's fought for the most part. he has lost to. Like the one difference in that, really, I think, like Uriah Hall is a better athlete. He won a split decision. Uriah Hall is also like a uniquely weird guy in that sort of fashion. All due props to him. Rafael Natal has stuck around the UFC, been competitive in the middleweight division for a long time, but he's on a 2-fight losing streak, maybe physically declining a little bit. Tim Boach punches lights out early, and Eric Anders is an athletic specimen. I think he is going to get it done in spectacular fashion early. I will also take a round one KO.
The pick here is Eric Anders as well. I'm not as confident because I wasn't super impressed with his last fight. It was a pretty tough fight. Cardio was a bit of an issue for both fighters. He ultimately, won the fight. It was closer than I think even the scores indicated, which I believe were 4-1 across the board. I could be wrong. The pick has to be Anders, though, in my opinion. Natal's just not the athlete Anders is, and Anders has a lot more upside. In general, already he's young, he's green, but he might even be a better fighter than Natal overall. Anders stoppage, I'll go. I won't be surprised if it's decision, but I'll go second round TKO, just because Natal is kind of chinny. All right, next up, the featured Fox prelim, Lyman Good, who is nicknamed Cyborg for I don't know why, taking on Elizu Zaleski dos Santos, who is the pick here for you. Good is the favorite, and the Brazilian Zaleski dos Santos is slightly the underdog.
They tell me that this is a featured bout and that these guys matter. Never seen them before. Don't know who they are. Pretty confident neither of them have actually ever competed in MMA at a significant level. So tough for me to think that this should be the featured bout. This is a fight that sort of feels like it should be on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Maybe seeing if these guys can get into the UFC. But all that aside, I am picking Elizu Zaleski dos Santos purely because Lyman Good hasn't fought in 2 years. Like that's it. You haven't fought in 2 years. I'm going to assume that you're going to have a rough time coming back, especially the circumstances around which he has been sitting out. Yep, give me Elizu, give me Zaleski dos Santos by decision, I guess. Wes Riddle gonna do a little bit of disagreeing with me. We've got some more dissension, which is good. I always love to get more wins to have a bigger lead over y'all. Good is going. He has Good winning a decision over Zaleski dos Santos.
Yeah, I'm going Good here by decision as well. I don't know why, and I'm not confident because he hasn't fought in a hell of a long time. July 15th, 2015, UFC debut. That was his last fight against Andrew Craig, who is no longer in the UFC. So let's get to Santos. Says look good. It seems like he's always the underdog, but he seems to pull through more often than not. I think he's 2-1 in the UFC. Could be wrong. The pick's good. I don't really know why, and him coming off layoff and a USADA suspension. I don't recall what happened with that or what it was, so apologize on that. But Good's the pick. Yeah, that's really all I got. Good by decision. Now that brings us to the people's main event, the best fight stylistically on the card. Kicking things off on the 4-fight Fox main card, Jimmy Alter Rivera taking on Tomasina Almeida. Awesome fight. Pivotal fight for the bantamweight division. Rivera number 4, Almeida number 9. Very important, and the winner is going to be in the top 5. I would think, unless it's Almeida, then he might just be below. But still very, very good fight and very important stuff. Who is the pick here? Rivera is about a 2-1 favorite around there. Almeida, of course, a slight underdog. Who are you going with here?
Wes Riddle is picking Rivera over Almeida via decision. I am also taking Jimmy Rivera. I'm super high on Jimmy Rivera. Listeners of the show will know there are a couple of guys that, like, for whatever reason, I'm just team. I just think they're gonna go places, do big things. And Jimmy Rivera is one of those guys. I think this guy's a guy who should be fighting for titles. He should be fighting. Like, I want to watch him versus Cody Garbrandt. That is the fight to me to make for my personal preference. Like, no disrespect to TJ Dillashaw. I think that fight is also an incredible fight. But I'm super interested in Rivera versus Garbrandt. I think the Rivera Almeida fight will be extremely fun because of the styles. I also just think Rivera's a better boxer than Tommy Almeida. I think he's got better overall skills. I think Tommy Almeida is not concerned with defense, like, at all. And I honestly expect this fight to look pretty similar to Cody Garbrandt versus Almeida. I don't think Rivera packs the same punch that Garbrandt does. Certainly, Garbrandt is a hitter in general, but I think it still looks sort of the same. Whereas Garbrandt gets real aggressive, or not Garbrandt, where Almeida gets really aggressive, leaves his chin hanging out there, and Jimmy Rivera chin checks him and puts him out. I'm picking Jimmy Rivera to have the showcase fight of his UFC career. And put a stamp on him getting the winner of the. I mean, I guess maybe not because of like what the whole Dominic Cruz situation, but I think if he comes out here and knocks out Thomas Almeida, he probably should demand a title shot versus the winner of Garbrandt Dillashaw. Whether he'll get it, another thing entirely. But I've got Jimmy Rivera early stoppage.
Interesting. I'm not as confident in Rivera just because Almeida is dangerous and he's pretty active and, overall a very good striker. He's very crisp and, puts his punch together well. But Jimmy Rivera, he has better fundamentals. He has way better defense. He's concerned about defense. As you said, Almeida isn't too much. It's going to be a striking battle, and it's going to be one that Rivera wins. He's not going to get hit nearly as much. He's going to hit Almeida. I don't see a finish because Rivera, from just sort of my, he's never really gotten hit too much. But my assumption is he has a pretty good chin. Almeida doesn't have a great chin, but Rivera doesn't hit quite hard enough to knock a guy like Almeida out. That's sort of what I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe your pick will come true. The pick's Rivera by decision, though. I just think it'll be a 3-round, pretty good fight. I don't think it'll be like fight of the year candidate. I think it'll be a back and forth fun fight. I probably fight of the night. But might not be as good as we're all hoping. Obviously, I hope I'm wrong. Rivera by decision is the pick. All right, moving on. Pat Cummins taking on Gian Villante in something that could be either really fun or terribly boring. I hope it's, of course, the former, and I'm worried it is the latter. Durkin Cummins, you mentioned him earlier. He's the second king of mustaches on this card. He's taken on Long Island's own Gian Villante. Who are you picking here? Villante, at one time he was the plus 100, very slight underdog. The line has flipped. He is about a plus or minus 165 favorite around there. Cummins, a slight dog. Who are you siding with in this light heavyweight contest?
I'm taking Gian Villante. I think Patrick Cummins seems like a good dude. He's an interesting guy. Wish him all the best. I also think his big flaw, he also has like some in-fight tactical flaws, but his big flaw is that he's not durable really enough to take the shots. And in particular, like we saw in the Jan Blachowicz fight, it's not lack of heart. Like he wants to be in there trying, but he just like Jan Blachowicz is not a guy who hurts people. Like it's just not what he does. And he had Cummins in all sorts of ways, and full credit to Cummins for overcoming that and squeaking out a win just on grit and determination. But Gian Villante hits much harder than Jan Blachowicz and is probably a little bit better at defending takedowns in general. Like I think Cummins can get takedowns. I also don't think he's a particularly great control artist on top. There becomes a point in time where Villante gets gassed, and then it's Cummins is in the driver's seat, and it's whether he can put Cummins on a stretcher before then, probably like the 7 or 8 minute mark, and then he'll just get tired from having to wrestle as much. But I think he can do it. I have Gian Villante with a late first round KO. Similarly, our esteemed colleague Wes Riddle also has a round 1 KO for Villante.
Yeah, you broke this down really well. I think this will be a wild fight while it lasts. But I'm hoping it doesn't last long, because if it does, it's going to be Cummins on top, Villante barely being able to breathe, and it's going to be really boring. Hopefully it ends quick, and hopefully Cummins swings for the fences and ultimately comes up short. Not hopefully, but that you get what I'm saying. I hope for not a boring fight. That's not usually what we're going for. Villante better on the feet. Cummins is the wrestler here. both guys don't have great gas tanks. Cummins, I guess, has better cardio. Vellante has about, as you said, 5 to 7 minutes to knock out Cummins, who does not have a good chin. If he does not do that, the tides will turn late. Um, it could make for an exciting back and forth fight, but ultimately, if Cummins does get on top, he'll win and make it boring. But I'm optimistic. My pick is Vellante by first round KO. That's pretty much it. Vellante KO round 1. Let's make this exciting. I hope it is. Co-main event time: Dennis the Menace Bermudez and Darren the Damage Elkins, also known as the worst tattoo in mixed martial arts. The owner of that would be, of course, the Damage himself, Darren Elkins. Pretty interesting. I mean, this is a good featherweight fight. It's not a great one. In the co-main event of a big Fox card, kind of not great. If this was like the headline, this could be like the headline of the prelims, and that would typically tell me that we're looking at a pretty good card. Instead, it's the co-main event, and it's good enough of a fight just so it's like I'm not going to complain too much. But Bermudez, he hasn't done too well lately. Elkins, on the other hand, has done incredible as of late. He's been getting better, and he's been pulling off these really bizarre wins and upsets. Obviously, most recently, Morissette Bekta KO round 3, Insanity. Bermudez just got caught by the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung Jong. The pick for me is Darren Elkins, out of sheer toughness. The guy is a lot more tougher than Bermudez. Bermudez, I don't look at a guy and say the guy is gritty, he's durable. Kind of the opposite. The guy kind of chinny, gives up position a bit more than he should. Decent wrestler. Elkins is a very good wrestler as well. Very gritty, grinder. He's sort of the definition of a grinder. I think that's fair to say. And I think his overall game is getting better, especially with training at Team Alpha Male. I think he'll be able to break Bermudez. I like him. I want to say submission in late round 2.
Well, at least you finally got away from picking the exact same things as Wes Riddle. You and Wes had been lock, stock in every pick until this point in time. Wes has Dennis Bermudez winning a decision over Darren Elkins, and I tend to agree with Wes Riddle. Darren Elkins, I mean, great comeback win in his last fight against Mirsad Bektic. After, honestly, that fight very justifiably could have been stopped in the second round. But he created out and found a window and put forth a better volley of offense in that third round than he's probably ever put forth in the rest of his career. I think that that's more of an anomaly. I don't think this is some new trend from him. You said it yourself, Darren Elkins is a grinder. His game really, really relies a lot on being able to at least threaten effective wrestling. And I know Dennis Bermudez, where he excels, if he excels in one particular area, other than drinking lemon juice, of which he is a world champion, he excels at defending takedowns, forcing it to be a striking affair. And on the feet, he works with more volume, a little bit cleaner, not as tough, not as good a chin, but I just don't think it matters. Darren Elkins wins by decisions, and I just don't see how he's going to win more moments of the fight than Dennis Bermudez is by stuffing shots, by landing more volume on the feet. By frankly, Darren Elkins isn't a great defensive wrestler either. Like Dennis Bermudez has the ability to take him down. To me, this is one-way traffic. Dennis Bermudez all day, very clear decision win.
Alrighty, that brings us to the main event of the evening. Chris Weidman, Kelvin Gastelum in a pretty important middleweight fight. Most of all, it's important for the All-American Chris Weidman. He is on a 3-fight losing skid. Gastelum, on the other hand, is very comfortable on a bit of on quite the winning streak. Weidman needs a win here, and he is not favored to do so. He is the slight underdog. Gastelum around minus 145, if my memory serves me correctly. This is, of course, the main event. As I said, who is your pick, Chris Weidman or Kelvin Gastelum?
Well, I guess I'll just get it over with immediately. Wes Riddle is taking Kelvin Gastelum with a round 3 TKO over Chris Weidman. I think you're also going to end up picking Gastelum. Both of you guys are going to make compelling points. You guys are, it's not wrong. Many ways my head says that Kelvin Gastelum should win this fight. Chris Weidman can only fight going forward. and Kelvin Gastelum is going to make him take steps backwards. And literally every second of a fight, Chris Weidman is backing up. He is losing. But at the same time, I can't get past two things here. The first is Chris Weidman is a light heavyweight fighting a fat welterweight. This is going to be a huge, like, there's just an enormous size discrepancy here. And the second is Kelvin Gastelum never, like, really his weakest area is always, aside from the scale, has been his defensive wrestling. Neil Magny exploited that pretty well. Chris Weidman is a very good wrestler, a very good top control player, and he's much bigger man. Like, I understand all the love for Gastelum. I totally get why it's going to happen, especially with the way Weidman's looked at. Frankly, shameless plug. Shout out to my podcast, The Naked Truth. Yesterday, I unleashed what was a pretty hot take. I'm going to be honest. Basically saying that Chris Weidman was never that good of a fighter. Like, he's a good fighter, but he's a wildly overrated fighter. And that the three best fighters he ever fought, he all knocked him out in his last three fights. I'm saying all of this to let you know I'm predisposed to think Gastelum's going to win, and in my head I just can't get past the idea of, like, Kelvin Gastelum is not a great defensive wrestler, and Chris Weidman is enormous. Like, it's just, and a good wrestler. Like, he's going to take Gastelum down because if it was 3 rounds, Weidman all damn day. 5 rounds gives Gastelum an opportunity to maybe survive early when Weidman gets slower, tired, really start putting him on the back foot, work that volume boxing game. He's got sneaky power. But in many ways, think Gastelum's welterweight or middleweight run is just, it sounds bad to say, but I think it's a little bit smoke and mirrors. Like, Tim Kennedy is a great win. Tim Kennedy also retired on his way out. He beat a washed Johnny Hendricks. He lost to Neil Magny, and then he got a no contest against Vitor Belfort. So I think Kelvin Gastelum is one of the very best welterweights in the world. I really want him to get his weight under control, move back down, and fight Tyron Woodley for the title, because I think he's also, like, a really bad style matchup for Woodley. So that's just, like, a very interesting, compelling fight to me. If he wins, I won't be surprised, but it comes down to the same reason last week. You could argue really that the pick that sealed the deal for me last week was the Henry Tamer fight, and I picked Henry purely because Tamer is a featherweight and Henry was a welterweight, and for a round I regretted it, and then after that I was like, oh nope, here it is. This is still a featherweight fighting a welterweight, and here's this really big dude going to be a really big guy on top of him, and that's what I think. Chris Weidman he competed in collegiate wrestling at like 197. He wrestled Ryan Bader and not John Jones, maybe John Jones, Phil Davis and stuff. Like, these are the guys he competed with, and now he cuts a lot to make middleweight. Kelvin Gastelum is a welterweight in my opinion, and that's just too big a bridge for him to overcome. Chris Weidman I think he's going to end up getting a submission in the 3rd round after just working a top position game for a while on Gastelum.
Alrighty. The pick here, as you mentioned earlier, is Kelvin Gastelum. I got him by either 3rd or 4th round TKO. My thing, you make picking Weidman very convincing. It's a closer fight than maybe some people think, and maybe you and I thought initially. Like, I haven't gotten to Weidman, or jumped, like, switched or whatever, but I've been less and less confident as the days go on, as I realize, Weidman's actually so much bigger than him. He's a lot stronger. Gastelum is a strong welterweight, but Weidman is a strong middleweight. So the strength is obviously incredibly different, and the size is obviously incredibly different if you watch the weigh-ins or just anything with them in the same shot. But Gastelum, he's the better fighter than Weidman, and I have to go with that over just size. Whereas, like, you compare this kind of to the Tamer Henry fight, it's like, yeah, but they're both not great, and one guy isn't clearly the better skill wise isn't the better fighter. They're close enough, and then the size certainly did help Danny in the end. Here, 5 rounds, as you said, favors Gastelum. Gastelum has a better cardio. Weidman slows down. I like Weidman to look good early on. I think he'll muscle Gastelum, as you said, Gastelum. Go rewatch the Neil Magny fight. I think he's improved his wrestling defense. I still don't think it's great. Weidman should be able to take him down once or twice throughout the first 10 minutes, and the stand-up will be Gastelum mostly, unless he can't reach Weidman, which is a possible outcome. But as Gastelum,
Weidman took down
as
Joe
what?
Romero. He's going to take down Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah. As Weidman slows down, though, Gastelum will pick up steam. He'll pick up speed. He'll look better and better as the fight goes on. He has 25 minutes to work. Don't forget, not 15. And he's going to put his fist on Weidman's face, and he's going to hurt Weidman enough, and he's eventually going to make his way to a dominant position, and he's going to pound out Chris Weidman and TKO him via ground and pound. I'll say fourth round. I think round 1 and 2 goes Weidman. Round 3, sort of the deciding round if it does go 25 minutes, and then round 4, and if it goes to round 5, those will be Gastelum clearly his round. So the pick Gastelum, fourth round TKO, but I honestly won't be too shocked. As a guy who's never been high on Weidman, I won't be shocked if the former middleweight champion does get back on track here, simply because he's so much stronger and so much bigger. But Gastelum is better on the feet by quite a bit. His pressure game is great. His boxing game in general is fantastic. He should be able to light Weidman up a little bit on the feet. And so I got to go Gastelum here. I give him more advantages for the most part. So Gastelum, TKO, fourth round is the pick. All right, before we get out of here, and I know we've already been going on for longer than I had hoped, but that is fine. We have 7 viewers right now. I am still amazed. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. DraftKings, and but first we'll go our bonuses. So performance of the night and fight of the night. Who does Wes have? Wes actually didn't give. Yeah, he's asleep. There's no way we're getting his bonuses. He'll.
West didn't give bonuses, but from the list we can extrapolate that he has. On his list he has 3 round 1 KOs. So I would assume that his bonuses are going to be Anders, Volante, or Sherman. So I'm just going to pencil him in as doing that thing he liked to do where he's like, I'm not going to pick a fight, I'm going to pick 4 performances. And so I'm just going to say he's going to pick Volante, Anders, Sherman, and who else does he have as an early stoppage? I'm going to pick for him. We'll do Gastelum. He'll pick those 4 as his bonuses. So let me write that down while I do. Nicholas, please give us yours.
All right, my performances. Let's see here. I am going to go. This is tough. I really don't know. This is like I don't see that many like great technical finishes. A lot of it's gonna be close and ground and pound and maybe sloppy. Definitely in the case of Jean Volante. And honestly, this should be super easy for fight night, Rivera Almeida all day, but I can't get it out of my mind that Cummins Volante is going to be so bad, but so fun. I'm so tempted to pick that for fight night because I think Cummins somehow could survive a bit and kind of come back and make it, the up and down, dramatic, sort of bad, good fight that it has the potential of being. But on the other side, Almeida Rivera are fighting. That should be fantastic. I don't know if you're saying anything or just mouthing. No? All right. Let's try. Let's go Cummins. Let's go Cummins Volante. Just why not? Because I know you're going Rivera Almeida. So if I want to get some title from you, got to be different. Performances, I really don't know. I'll just say Darren Elkins and Chase Sherman. Darren Elkins, Chase Sherman. There you go.
I am not going with Rivera Almeida. I think that is a perfectly reasonable and wise decision. But because, like I said, I'm giving Jimmy Rivera a first round KO, I'm picking Jimmy Rivera with performance of the night bonus. Also behind that, like I said, I'm big on Eric Andrews being an athletic fucking freak and coming out here and dusting up Rafael Natal. I think he makes a big splash in the UFC, gets himself an early knockout and a performance bonus. My fight of the night, I'm sticking with the old tried and true rule here. I honestly think Cummins Volante is a legitimately good pick for it, because if Cummins can survive and make it like the Blachowicz fight, it's an exciting, fun fight. But I'm sticking with the rule in general that I have. Pick the main event. 5 rounds is more. 5 rounds is 2 more rounds than three, which is 2 more rounds for it to be an interesting, dynamic fight. Even though I am picking Weidman with a third round submission, I can absolutely see this fight going later, being having maybe Weidman start out ahead, Gastelum work his way back in, Weidman get a takedown in the middle of the fight and shift the momentum. I think it's to me the pick for a fight of the night. So I'm picking Gastelum Weidman as my fight of the night. We are on the home stretch, son. Wes has given us the DraftKings team, so I'm just gonna fire his DraftKings team out right now and keep this train rolling so we can get on out of here. Wes's DraftKings team, Tommy Almeida, which is an interesting pick considering he did pick Jimmy Rivera in the fight, but he's going with Tommy Almeida on his DraftKings team. Eric Andrews, Kelvin Gastelum, Kelleher, Sherman, and Volante round out his DraftKings team. For myself on DraftKings, I like my team a lot. The only thing I don't like about my team, I have a lot of money on the table. I have taken Eric Andrews because, like I said, I'm big on him. He costs $7,400. He is cheap. I would highly recommend him getting on your squad. Shane Burgos, $8,700. Jimmy Rivera. I can totally see picking Tommy Almeida if he gets a violent stoppage, a lot of points, but I'm all in on the Jimmy Rivera plan. I think he's going to knock him out. Chase Sherman, I think he's getting a first round KO. Jean Vellante, again, I think he's getting an early KO. And Chris Weidman, I think he's going to get many takedowns on Kelvin Gastelum and eventually submit him. That's a lot of points. That's my squad. Nick, bring us home.
Did you say Wes's? What was I asleep for that?
I think that was his.
All right.
It says
I
Almeida, Anders, Gastelum, Kelleher, Sherman, and Vellante.
Oh yes, I do remember that. That happened like less than a minute ago. All right, that's kind of bad. My team is quite a bit different than yours, so that's interesting. I got Jay Sherman. I have Chris Wade. I have Kelvin Gastelum. I have Darren Elkins. I have Alex Oliveira. And I have Jean Vellante. Let me know if you need to repeat anything.
Nope, you're good.
That is Chase Sherman, Chris Wade, Kelvin Gastelum, Darren Elkins, Alex Oliveira, and John Vellante. This is
all three of us have Sherman and Vellante on our squads.
Yeah, it's not too surprising because they're both likely to get quick knockouts. With Wade, I've noticed that takedowns mean more than they should in DraftKings in general. So that's why I went with Wade over a guy like Shane Burgos, because I think Wade is more likely to dominate than Burgos is. Darren Elkins, again, I'm kind of all in on Elkins. I think the performance there, the finish, all of it's possible. Alex Oliveira, that's kind of going out on the limb, but he was cheap enough, and then that basically Vellante was self-explanatory. So that does it for episode 76 of Before the Battle. Thank you guys for sticking with us. I legitimately am surprised we have people watching right now. You guys should probably go to sleep, but thank you as always. We do appreciate it. Wes will be back next week, I would imagine, to respond to Jed Meshew's claims that were made earlier on in the show. Jed, I do appreciate you doing the show at rounding up or ending up at 3 a.m. your time. I know, though, you're probably going to go to bed in like 2 hours, so it's all cool. Let the people know where they can find you on social media, where they can find you writing your podcast, and anything else you got going on.
You can find me on social media on twitter.com /JEDKMESHEW. Everything I do links from there. So just give me a follow and you can stay up to date on all the latest things I am doing. The latest thing I did yesterday, I recorded a new episode of the Naked Truth podcast, which I co-host with bloodyelbow.com writer, The Naked Gambler. It was honest, I believe our best episode yet. We had on Mook Alexander, Bloody Elbow editor, joined us for the duration of the thing. We kicked the shit. If you are listening to this show, you already heard me spout a little bit about my Chris Weidman take. You can hear that take in its entirety at in the show. Also, some interesting other things happen. Give that a listen. We're very proud of the episode, and give that a follow because next week, I think on Tuesday, we are dropping a consultation. We're gonna pull back the curtain a little bit. Me and the Naked Gambler are MMA consultant coaches, and one of the more well-known coaches in the game, Brandon Gibson. You're going to see how we taught him everything he knows. We're going to give him a couple of tidbits, a couple of pointers for John Jones ahead of his title fight with Daniel Cormier. Seems like it might be really tough for Jones to get a win over Cormier, so we are going to try and get him back in the game with a couple of secret tactics we've been working on. So that's upcoming. We're very proud of our show. Give it a follow, give it a listen, give me a follow, give Nick a follow. He tries so hard out there, guys. Don't give Wes Riddle a follow. He's not even here. Nobody likes him. He's a coward. That's it. I write at MMA Fighting, but you guys probably already know that. I love you all. Thank you very much. Good night.
All right. With that, you guys can find me on the Twitter at Nick Baldwin MMA. Rally for the blue check mark still continues. You guys can find my writing over at bloodyelbow.com, the greatest website on the internet today. I think that's pretty much it. You can find my podcast. I host it Halftime with Andrew Lawrence, Halftime with Jed Meshew. It's called the MMA
Circuit. With this week? Who was on this
week? It happened to be yourself. Anyways, I feel like I totally missed something there. Episode 120 this week. It was dropped today. We had a number of fantastic guests. We had Linton Vassell, we had Rob Font, we had Ricard Close, we had Kurt Hollabaugh and Boston Salmon, the latter four UFC fighters. The first being Linton Vassell, a Bellator light heavyweight contender. Thank you to you guys for listening. We appreciate it. Go check out my stuff. Go check out Jed's stuff. Go block Wes Riddle on Twitter. It's all that MMA. Don't follow him. Obviously, go block him. I think that's self-explanatory at this point. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We really do appreciate it. Enjoy the fights. Have a good night. We're out. Goodbye. Go to bed.
Love you guys.